Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll look at tan, which is short for tangent. And tan is another trigonometric function which relates the size of an angle to the lengths of two sides of a right-angled triangle. So let's start with a right-angled triangle. And here we have that the adjacent length is 7 centimeters. And the angle is 32 degrees. And we want to find the length x. Here we can see that x is opposite the angle, so it's the opposite. We need to use tan in this case. And if we write down the definition of tan, it is tan of 32 degrees is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And in this triangle, that will be x over 7. Now we need to find the value of x. So what should we do? Well, we need to multiply both sides by 7, or we can say cross multiply. And when we do that, we get x is equal to 7 multiplied by tan of 32 degrees. And tan of 32 degrees we can look up on a calculator. And when we do that, we get this. And multiplying those figures together, again on a calculator, we find that x is equal to 4.374 centimeters, correct to four significant figures. Now let's do a similar problem, but with the triangle in a different orientation. Here, again, we have the adjacent side. It's 9.5 centimeters in this case. The angle is 39 degrees, and x is the opposite, and we need to find the value of x. Again, we'll use tan, so let's write down the definition. That will be tan of 39 degrees is equal to the opposite over the adjacent, and here that will be x over 9.5. So do you remember how to find the value of x? We need to multiply both sides by 9.5 or cross multiply. When we do that, we get x is equal to 9.5 multiplied by tan of 39 degrees. And tan of 39 degrees we can find on a calculator. When we do that, we get this next line. And if we multiply those two figures together on a calculator, we get x is 7.693 centimeters, correct to four significant figures. Now let's look at a slightly different problem. We have another right-angled triangle, and in this case we know the length of the opposite. It's 10 centimeters. And the angle there is 36 degrees. And again, we want to find the value of x, but this time x is the adjacent. So we start in the same way, writing down the definition of tangent, which in this case will be tan 36 degrees is equal to the opposite over adjacent, which will be 10 over x in this triangle. So how should we find x? Well, we need to multiply both sides by x, or cross multiply. Doing that, we get x multiplied by tan of 36 degrees is equal to 10. Now to get x on its own, we divide both sides by tan of 36 degrees. And so we get this, x equals 10 over tan 36 degrees. And we can look up tan of 36 degrees on a calculator, and we get this next line. And doing that division, again on a calculator, we find that x is equal to 13.76 centimeters, correct to four significant figures. Let's do a similar example, but with the triangle in this orientation. So again, we have the opposite as 12.5 centimeters and the angle is 58 degrees. And we want to find the value of x, which will be the adjacent here. So let's write down the definition of tan. Here it will be tan of 50 degrees equals the opposite over adjacent, which here will be 12.5 over x. Now you remember what to do next? To get x, we need to multiply both sides by x, or cross multiply. When we do that, we get x multiplied by tan of 58 degrees is equal to 12.5. And now to get x on its own, we simply divide both sides by tan of 58 degrees, and we get x is equal to 12.5 over tan 58. And looking up tan 58 degrees on a calculator, we get this next line. And doing that division on the calculator, we find that x is equal to 7.811 centimeters, correct to 4 significant figures. Now let's look at a different example where, given the opposite length, it's 6.5 centimeters, and we're also given the adjacent 8.5 centimeters. And we need to find the angle, we'll call it theta. And to do this, again, we'll start with the definition of tan. It is tan theta, it's opposite over adjacent, and in this case we know the two lengths, so it will be 6.5 over 8.5. Now we can do that division on a calculator and we end up with this 0.7647, etc. You remember how to get the value of theta now? Well, we can write theta is tan to the minus 1 of 0.7647, etc. And to work that out, we need to put the 0.7647 in on the calculator and press the 10 to the minus 1 key, or it could be arc10 on your calculator. When we do that, we get, or you should get, theta is equal to 37.41 degrees. Again, this is correct to 4 significant figures. Let's do another example. This time we'll have the triangle in this orientation. And here we're given two lengths. The opposite is 7 centimeters and the adjacent is 12 centimeters. And the angle we want to find is up there. Again, we'll call it theta. And to do it, again, not surprisingly in this video, we proceed using the definition of tan. So if we write it down in this, for this triangle, it will be tan theta is opposite over adjacent, which is 7 over 12 here. Doing that division on a calculator, we get 0.583 recurring. And now to find the value of theta, well, we can write theta is 10 to the minus 1 of 0.583 recurring. So we need to put that 0.583 recurring on the screen in the calculator and press the 10 to the minus 1 key, or it could be the arc10 key on your calculator. And when we do it, we should get this theta is equal to 30.26 degrees. And that again is correct to 4 significant figures. So that's all for this video. Again, I hope you've enjoyed it and learned something. But in order to retain what you've learned, you need to practice. And for that purpose, I have two websites where you can obtain unlimited practice. One of them is a site which I call the learning site, where you can just practice solving problems of one kind. And the other is a test site, where you have 5 different types of problems, and you have to give 5 consecutive correct answers to finish the test, when you'll receive a congratulations message. So I hope you will practice on there and become master of the topic. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.